Genevieve is pregnant with a child that carries both alpha and royal blood, making it a target for the malevolent sorcerer Rodin, who has cast a spell to create a supernatural hybrid. Will the child be born safely? How would Genevieve and Dasha combat the hidden forces that threaten their family? How will they protect their household from the impending storm? Join Outhack. Subscribe to start your adventure. Chapter 40 for Genevieve. I'm pregnant. There's another werewolf growing inside of me. It's gonna be a mini Asher or a mini. I'm absolutely ecstatic. Most people would think that having a baby at 18 would ruin your life. But to me, it feels like I'm just starting my life. I'm actually extremely happy about my baby. Except for, of course, the stupid witch assholes. And Malcolm. God, I want to punch the guy in the face. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Right now, Asher is laying on my stomach. Well, at least his head is laying on my stomach. We both fell asleep last night, and he refused to sleep on the bed for fear of squishing our baby. I reached down and ran my hand through his soft hair. Damn, I missed him drive. Nell came into the room and Dasha jolted awake. Hello. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Luna, he said, nodding to both of us. Asher yawned and rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. How are you feeling? The doctor asked me. Okay, I guess I'm not nauseous anymore. I actually feel refreshed. It's probably because Asher is back. Mates have that effect on each other. That's good. I'm going to go over what happened since we didn't get the chance yesterday, he informed me. I nodded, allowing him to continue. Well, it was normal nausea for a pregnant woman. You just passed out because you weren't used to it. The pain is a lot of handle at first, especially with an alpha royal baby. It would be stronger, but your body will get used to it and you shouldn't pass out again. I nodded my head and we fell into a silence. So, as you already know, this wasn't exactly part of our planned drive. Male stated. Obviously. They were supposed to kill that fucking witch before a baby started growing inside of my body. We need to get rid of the spell before you give birth, he told me. Asher nodded in agreement. We should actually be doing that right now, he said as he stood up. A frown was etched on my face. He's only been here for about 13 hours. It hasn't even been a day drive. Neil chuckled, causing our heads to snap in his direction. Asher raised an eyebrow at the man. I don't think your mate wants you to leave, he stated, while nodding towards me. I rolled my eyes. He's talking like I'm not sitting right here. I guess we can stay a few more days, Asher stated. No, he has to catch that witch bitch, Ingrid informed me. I sighed and forced the words out of my mind. No, you guys should go, I said softly. Asher asked the doctor to leave and drive. Neil silently left the room. Look, if you're still mad at me, I'm not mad I cut Asher off. He looked skeptical, so I grabbed his hand and pulled him closer to me. When he was close enough, I put my arms around his neck and pressed our lips together. I missed you, I whispered when we pulled away. Asher rested his forehead on mine, and his breath and my face. So you're not mad? I nodded in confirmation. Then why did you tell me to leave? He asked with a frown. I quickly pecked his lips and the frown turned into a small smile. You guys have to catch the witch, so the sooner you leave, the more time you have, I explained. I just want this to be over so our kid will be safe, I muttered. He leaned over and kissed my belly that was flat. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you and our child safe, he mumbled against my skin. I started playing with his dark hair, admiring the softness of it. I love you so fucking much, he stated, his voice thick with emotion. Our eyes met and a smile spread across my face. I love you too. Asher got up and kissed my forehead, letting his lips linger for a few seconds. "I'll be back as soon as possible," he promised before leaving. Again. Sean held the trash can, Brittany rubbed my back, and Hope held my hair whilst I emptied my stomach for the 100th time today. I've only been pregnant for about a week, and it sucks. I love this kid, but she needs to let me eat. I groaned and dropped my head on the pillow. "Do you feel better?" Hope asked. I grunted in response and covered my face with my arm. "Why are the lights so bright?" "Maybe drive." "Mail shouldn't have gone with them," Sean stated. "Right after Asher, drive." Mail. And the warriors left the territory. My baby decided to make me miserable. We all went back to the castle so there would be a doctor if we need one. I quickly shook my head in disagreement. "He knows people and stuff. They need him," I said tiredly. "You gotta eat before you can sleep," Brittany informed me. I rolled my eyes and pointed at my stomach. "This thing won't let me," I stated. Sean narrowed his eyes at me. "That is my future niece or nephew, not something," he huffed. I sighed and rubbed my belly. "Can Mommy eat something?" I questioned my baby. Sean and Brittany looked at me like I'm crazy. "What do you want to eat?" I asked softly. "Your stomach tart," Sean pointed out. I face palmed. "I know that. But I can get cravings if the baby wants something." "Smart ass," I retorted. Sean started mumbling about how I'm gonna be a aggressive pregnant woman. Which is probably true. "Salami," I exclaimed. Everyone looked at me in confusion. I guess my sudden outburst was kinda weird. "I want salami. Please," I muttered. Sean laughed before leaving the room with Brittany trailing behind him. Hope sat on a chair next to my bed. We just sat in silence, but it wasn't awkward or anything. My phone beeped and Hope got up to hand it to me. "Thanks," I said before putting in the code to unlock the device. "From Asher." "Hey, baby. How are you feeling?" "Too, Asher, good. Why didn't you just ML me?" If you don't understand our texting language, ML is short for mind link. I'm just too lazy to type it all out. "I didn't even think about that," Asher said through our mind link. "Stupid boys." I laughed and rolled my eyes. "Where are you guys?" I questioned. There was a long pause, in which Asher was probably asking someone where they were. About to enter a small group of rogues' territory. "And we're halfway to the Gemini Coven," he informed me. "Okay. Be safe," I told him before Sean came into the room and threw a pack of salami at me. It hit my stomach and I faked a groan just for fun. I clutched my stomach and squeezed my eyes shut, acting as if I was in pain. "Shit. Are you okay?" Sean asked as he ran up to the bed. I groaned in response, holding back my laugh. Brittany smacked the back of his head. "Why would you throw it at her? She's pregnant." "Now you heard her. You dumb ass," she scolded him. A small giggle escaped my mouth before I was full out, laughing my ass off. Sean glared at me, making me laugh even more. After I caught my breath, I opened my eyes and looked at Sean, which was a bad idea because I started laughing again. "Very funny," he said sarcastically. "Eat your damn salami," he huffed. I pursed my lips and opened the pack of meat. "Thank you, Coco," I said, while eating my salami. Hope came into the room, but I didn't even see her leave. "If you have a visitor," she stated. I knitted my eyebrows together in confusion as I swallowed my food. "Who is it?" I questioned. Hope moved out of the way to reveal a familiar-looking dark-haired boy. "Remember me?" I cocked my head in confusion. The boy chuckled before everyone in the room just fainted. I gasped and he rolled his eyes at me. "They're just sleeping. Don't get all dramatic." I took deep breaths to calm my erratic heart. "Who are you? What do you want?" I inquired. The boy faked a pout. "How could you not remember me? I made you a sand," which he stated. "And Hassan." "It's Anthony. And from the midnight howlers, he said. Oh. Hey, I said, awkwardly, glancing at my friends who were laying on the floor. Ent growled at me, making my hands fly to my stomach on instinct. I quickly moved them before he noticed. That it? Just hey, he questioned. What does he want me to say? Why are you here? This is all you thought, he stated. You didn't even tell me. I slightly flinched back in fear. I don't know what you're talking about, I said shakily. I attempted to mind Link Asher, but it didn't work. Stupid wall. I just told a few people that the princess was at our pack, and I got kicked out. Now I'm rogue all because of you. He pointed a finger at my face. I'm sorry. I didn't know, I whispered. But it doesn't really matter. I'm not alone anymore, he stated. Before I had the chance to ask, another man entered the room. I'm sure you two have met before, Ant said. The man nodded towards me. Genevieve, he said simply. I rolled my eyes. Malcolm, I see you're still a dig, I hissed. Malcolm's eyes darkened and he took a deep breath to calm down. I heard that you have a bun in the oven, he said. Were you had wrong, I lied. Malcolm saw eye through me though. Have you put the pieces together yet? He questioned. All these subject changes are really getting annoying. I shook my head. Well, Afani here is my assistant, I guess, he said while rolling his eyes like he didn't really care. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. So why are you guys here? I questioned. Just making sure everything will go well with my future people, Malcolm stated. I growled and covered my stomach. Malcolm chuckled at my actions. Don't worry. What do you want with my baby? I asked hesitantly. A wicked smile spread across Malcolm's face. You see, I had a witch put a tiny spell on you. When your baby is born, it will hypothetically be the strongest being alive. Along with royal and alpha blood, it will also be part, which he stated. Suddenly it all clicked. My baby will create imbalance. It's too strong, and strength can either be good or bad. Why are you doing this? Malcolm rolled his eyes. We need a stronger heir. We had your weak parents. Now we have a naive little girl, he hissed. With this kid, we can have all the power we want, you fucking us whole. Both guys chuckled before they just disappear in thin air. Sean, Brittany, and Hope slowly woke up. What happened? Sean asked. They just messed with the wrong people, chapter 40, 5 Asher. Filthy ass holes, I muttered as we piled back into the car. We just talked to a group of rogues. They didn't even give us any info. But what did we expect from the rogues? One of them actually told us not to come back unless we brought a she-wolf with us. Needless to say, we had to get out of there before I killed all of them. Now we're off to the Gemini Coven. Drive Nail is researching the Coven on his laptop. We have one of those extremely expensive cars where there's built-in Wi-Fi. It's pretty amazing. To our agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Did you find anything? I asked Drive. Nail. He turned the laptop and there was a picture on full screen. It was a tattoo of a Roman number 2. What is this? I questioned while moving my gaze away from the screen. He faced the laptop back to himself and pressed a few buttons on the keyboard. It's the Gemini sign. It looks like what the Luna explained to us, Drive. Nail informed me. I got a burst of hope. This whole time, we couldn't get a single lead. We were basically working off of nothing. Now we might find something at the Gemini Coven. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. So what's the tap for? I inquired. Drive Nail shook his head. It isn't a tattoo. It's a magical branding. To a human, it looks like a tattoo. It looks like a tattoo. But to supernatural beings, it looks more like a burn, he explained. Which is basically how Eve described it. She said that it looked like a burn, but also like a tattoo. The branding is basically a shun and a warning to others. The coven would give it to people who betrayed them. It's kinda like a royal mark, but for the Gemini of an I've voiced my thoughts. Dive Nail nodded. So this guy was shunned, from the coven, once again. Dive Nail nodded. We just have give the coven a description, and someone has to know who it is. I nodded in agreement, and he continued his research. I tried to contact Eve, but her wall was up. She's probably doing something. I could still feel the hum of her existence in the back of my head, so I know she's okay. I just gotta get rid of this witch. Then we can both be okay, with our little family. We all filed out the car and into the church, like building. Hello. I'm Antonio. One of the superiors. A man introduced himself. I heard that you are looking for someone. Straight to the point. I nodded. A witch has cast a spell on my unborn child, and now they may be in danger, I informed him. Antonio hummed. And you think that this witch may be part of my coven, he concluded. I think that he was part of your coven. He has the Gemini branding on his palm, I explained. Antonio nodded and motioned for us to follow him. We stopped at a table with a few other people. It must be the rest of the superiors. We sat down in the empty seats and Antonio cleared his voice. What else can you tell us about this man? He questioned. Well, he has the branding on his palm, I repeated for the other people. He's about my height. Dark hair and pale skin. I feel like I'm forgetting something else that Eve told me. They all nodded. What color are his eyes? A man asked. That's what I forgot. Grey. My mate said that his eyes were grey, I stated. They nodded, and I could tell that they know who I'm talking about. His name is Odin. He was a superior, Antonio said. I nodded. Why was he shunned? Dive Nail inquired. The superiors looked at each other, having a silent conversation. One man nodded to Antonio as a sign to tell us. Odin was specializing in hybrids. He wanted to magically combine supernatural beings. His attempts never worked. The blood wasn't strong enough, and his experiments died. None of the experiments survived. I asked hesitantly. The superiors frowned and shook their heads. I think he is trying to make my unborn child into a hybrid, which means that my child may not even survive. Dive Nail nodded in agreement. The spell was in check. It translated to give you power. Odin may have attempted to make Alpha Asher's child half werewolf, half witch. Antonio frowned. Odin's work was just his work. He didn't share his findings with anyone. We just know that the experiments died. Our pup will not die, Galvin declared. I silently agreed with my wolf. Does anyone know his whereabouts? I questioned. Sadly, they all shook their heads, but nodded as superiors. Thank you. This has helped quite a lot, I said. I stood up and started walking to the door. Alpha, Antonio called out, pausing my actions. We don't know where Ode is, but we can help find him, he offered. A smile made its way on my face and I sat back down. The branding is special, the man explained. It is a warning, as well as a sort of tracking device. We can easily cast a locating spell to find Odin. Thank you so much, I praised the superiors. If the Gemini giver ever needs help, know that they have the Blue Moon Pack and the Royals as allies. Antonio nodded. We appreciate that. Now let's find the son of a bitch. Chapter 46 Asher. Just be careful. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Eve said softly through her mind link. I know that I should probably be happy. Eve worries about me. It means that she cares. But with the pregnancy, I know that it's not good for her or the baby if she's stressed out in any way. Which is why I didn't tell her about Odin. I told her that we were still looking for the witch, which isn't a lie. I didn't lie. I just kept a few things out, like the fact that I know which coven he comes from. And I know his name and location, and we are on our way to him. But technically, we're still looking for him. The locator spell only narrowed it down to a 5-mile radius, so we still have to look in that area. It's been a few days since we got to the Gemini coven. We had cast the spell the same day, then left afterwards. I've spoken to Eve every day. She informed me that Malcolm and a rogue came into the castle. Apparently, they are working together, along with a witch, most likely Odin. Ryan agreed to assign more guards to the castle for my mate's protection, which slightly eased my worries. After quickly assuring Eve that I'll be fine, I put up my mental wall. Eve and I agreed that it is better if we keep our walls up so I can focus and I won't feel it whenever she gets nauseous. I'm okay with her mental wall being up because we can sense each other. Her presence would just be a slight hum in the back of my mind. Anyways, we're in the least populated state in the U.S. Wyoming. There is not a werewolf pack here, but the superiors told us that a lot of witches, who aren't in a coven, live here. Supposedly, the monuments can be used to harvest power. Usually, witches in a coven get power from each other. They basically feed off of each other. Witches are more powerful. But if you are a lone witch, you have to feed off of the earth, supernatural creatures, dead beings, and apparently monuments. That is how Odin keeps showing up everywhere. Sure, he lives pretty far away, but every witch can teleport. It's one of the first spells that you learn. Since he can do it from this far away, then the superiors guess that he lives in a cemetery. There's only about 15 cemeteries in the area where the locator spell determined, so we plan on just going cemetery to cemetery. Carlos stopped the car at the first cemetery. Unfortunately, it's about 9 p.m., so it's pretty dark out. We can still see with our advanced eyesight, but that doesn't make it less creepy. "This is so creepy," Taylor whispered, thinking the same thing as me. She shuddered while glancing around at the gravestones. Taylor is the only girl here. She's not the best fighter, but she's an amazing tracker. Plus she runs pretty fast. So if we have to chase someone, she can be tracking and running at the same time, making the whole process extremely faster. It's like one of those horror movies. And the people watching are all like, "Don't go into the cemetery." But then we go into the cemetery. And we all die, she quickly ranted. Carlos chuckled. "The girls always die first," he informed her. I rolled my eyes at the both of them, but stopped moving to watch them bicker. Well, if the murderer was smart, then he would take out the guys first, Taylor. "How do you know that the killer is a dude? Females are psycho," he retorted. "Shouldn't have said that." "Oh, I'm so gonna tell that to your mate once you find her," she warned. Carlos bailed and tried to save himself. "I'm just trying not to be sexist. I'm just saying that there are a lot of female killers, not just male killers," he said slowly. "That doesn't change that fact that you just said, females are psycho," Taylor pointed out. I pursed my lips together to hold in my laugh. "But if you buy me Taco Bell, then maybe I'll forget this ever happened," she bribed. Immediately, Carlos complied. "Way too easy." I shook my head at him. "If you guys are done, let's go through this creepy ass deaths," Enter Donovan said. He's another one of my warriors. All of us are about the same age, early to mid-20s, but Taylor and I are still 19. "Should we split up?" "No." Taylor quickly cut him off. "Everyone dies when they split up in horror movies," she yelled. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nobel, hearts out thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." This girl watches way too many scary movies. Day we ray not in a horror movie. Splitting up makes this faster, yeah, Donovan agreed. If you're that scared, just go with Carlos, he said before walking off. I watched as the warriors all went in different directions and Taylor followed Carlos. It's almost 2 a.m. and we've looked at almost all of the cemeteries. I don't know why, but this cemetery looked creepier than the other ones. Maybe it's the weird statues. You can tell that this place is old. It's covered in cobwebs, and some of the gravestones and statues are worn down. This is so freaking creepy, Taylor exclaimed, looking like she wanted to run back into her car. She has said that about every cemetery. I turned away from her and scanned our surroundings. Obviously, there were the gravestones, but there are also a lot of mausoleums. And I'm guessing that if Odin was hiding here, it would be in a mausoleum. I mean, some to have like 4 stones. It would be fairly easy to, boo, Carlos shouted. Quickly after Carlos, Taylor shouted, but her shout was more like screaming bloody murder. Carlos doubled over with laughter as Taylor glares at him. They started shouting at each other. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical Lovers, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Can we just look around without all the unnecessary fighting? I asked rhetorically. It's been a long night, and we haven't found anything. Split up into 3s and look in every mausoleum drive. Mail ordered. I guess we had the same idea. I got into a group with Drive, Mail and Donovan. We walked to the first mausoleum and pushed open the squeaky double doors. I looked on the shelves where there were a few dusty pictures and some special items. Most families put the deceased person's favorite things in mausoleums. There were a few books, a teddy bear, a jewelry box, and a small snow globe. I moved the stuff around, looking for any buttons or anything that could possibly open a secret door. Donovan was pushing the coffin while Drive. Nahal was pushing the walls. We were all trying to see if anything would open. After a few more minutes of pushing and shuffling, we walked out of the mausoleum. Leave the doors open, so we know which ones were looked in, I told everyone through the mind. Think. They all replied with yes. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical Lovers, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We came to a closed mausoleum and walked inside. We started the same process, but this time, we heard a loud scraping noise as Donovan pushed the casket. Quickly, we helped him push it against the wall. Follow my scent. We found it, I informed everyone. Seconds later, Taylor came inside with the warriors behind her. She most likely tracked us. We all know that there could be a witch there. Be careful. Be smart. Our only weapon is surprise, I stated. They all nodded in understanding before we went down a metal ladder. There were several candles that lit up the cement room. It was freezing cold. We quietly split up and explored the space. There were stacks of paper everywhere. Most of them had words, probably spells. There was a small bed with dirty sheets. It looked like a rogue would sleep here. Which makes sense since Odin is basically a witch rogue. There was suddenly a loud crash. I quickly ran to the sound, to find a man. My warrior gathered around me as I scanned the area. Taylor was slumped against the wall, but she was still breathing Drive. Nahal went towards her, but the man turned around and lifted his hand up. Drive. Nahal went flying back. The man's a witch. I stepped towards him, and the man made his palm face me, like a warning. I saw the tattoo on his hand. A growl erupted from my chest before I charged at him. My shoulder hit his gut and he stumbled backwards. Before I had the chance to hurt him again, he lifted his hands back up. I instantly got a huge migraine, along with my warriors and Drive. Nahal. That's so cheating. Stupid magic, We all gripped our heads in an attempt to make the pain bearable. Then it just stopped. I slowly looked up and saw Odin's lifeless body on the floor. He had huge claw marks on his neck. Standing above him was Taylor, who was half shifted. Slowly, her canines and claws retracted as she backed away from the body. She was pale and shaking. I walked towards her with my hands up to show I wasn't a threat. "Tay," I said softly. She started sobbing and I wrapped my arms around her. "Shit, it's okay. You had to do it," I stated. I know for a fact that this was her first kill. Like I said, Taylor isn't the best fighter. During wars, she usually tracked those that ran away and injured a few people. But she's never killed. I got her Carlos told me. He swiftly picked up Taylor in a bridal carry. I sighed and examined Odin's body. I checked for a pulse, but didn't find one drive. Nail came over to me and patted my back. "He's dead," Chapter 40, 7 Asher. The whole car was silent. Taylor was asleep in Carlos' lap while Donovan was driving. Even though Taylor and Carlos fight all the time, they are actually pretty good friends. I'm so glad that this is actually over. The spell was lifted since Odin is dead. But I still felt the same. Nothing changed. "Wait," I whispered before turning to drive. "Nail. Wasn't I supposed to feel it? Like when the spell lifted, wasn't I supposed to feel something?" I asked him. Drive Nail shook his head. "Since Eve is pregnant, only she will be able to feel it since she's connected to the baby," he informed me. "You should ask her." I nodded in understanding and put down my wall. Before I could even say something, Eve was panicking in my head. "Oh my gosh. Asher, where were you? I've been trying to reach you for hours. I was so scared. What happened? Are you okay? Is the baby okay?" I questioned. I wouldn't felt anything because of my wall. "I swear something happened. I'm fine. The baby is perfect. I just felt this weird thing. It was like taking a big blanket off of me," she said slowly. "Like a weight was lifted off your shoulders," I commented. "Yeah. I don't know what it is," she told me. "What would it feel like?" I asked Drive. "Nail." He thought about it for a second. "Like taking off a drenched coat," he stated. Sounds kinda weird, but close to what Eve was explaining. It was the spell. "It's broken," I informed my mate. I was instantly filled with her happiness and relief. "That's amazing." "How did?" She didn't even get to finish. She was just gone. It wasn't like she put her wall up. She just wasn't there anymore. "Don't drive faster," I commanded. He pressed down on the gas pedal, and we were speeding through the highway. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "What's going on?" Drive Mail inquired. I ignored him and pulled my phone out of my pocket. I dialed Sean's number. I listened to the stupid ringing noise until it went to voicemail. Grunting in frustration, I called Hope. Again, it went to voicemail. Thuck. I went through my contacts and called Jordan. "Pick up. Please pick up," I chanted. After the fourth ring, Jordan answered. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "The castle. It's under attack," she rushed out. "Damn it. Where's Eve?" I questioned. There was complete silence on the other end. "Where's my mate?" I yelled. Jordan shrieked. "I don't know. She's not in the safe house." My phone crushed in my hand and I dropped the pieces on the ground. "Drive faster," I demanded. We instantly sped up, resulting in Taylor waking up. "What's going on?" she asked sleepily. "I gotta help Eve. We have to get to the castle. The castle is under attack. And no one knows where Eve is," I choked out. "She's carrying our baby. She can't get her toy, it'll hurt the baby. She'll be fine. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The guards will protect her, along with Ryan's packed drive, Nail stated. I can't feel her. Warriors go to the castle. It's under attack. Find your Luna and keep her safe, I ordered through the pack link. Brian Mind linked me. 20 warriors are staying here, he informed me. The 20 warriors protect the people that stay. I quickly responded to Brian before telling Donovan to go faster. 10 minutes later, we arrived at the castle. There were several dead bodies. Most of them were obviously rogues. My warriors and Ryan's warriors were engrossed in the battle. We all jumped out of the car and started running. In human form, Carlos ran towards the castle with Taylor Tay. I shouted as a dirty grey wolf pounced at her. Luckily, Carlos jumped at the wolf, shifting mid-air. I sighed in relief before running to the castle. I grabbed Taylor's arm as I ran past her. Stay inside, I demanded. She shakily nodded and awkwardly stood in the center of the room. Maybe I shouldn't leave her out in the open. I quickly opened a door to one of the many guest rooms and pulled Taylor inside. Stay here, I told her before running off. I down the hallway, where Eve's scent was getting stronger. I stopped in front of a closed door. I could smell her scent, but along with Eve's scent was the smell of other werewolves. There were about 5 scents, but one of them wasn't rogue. That asshole is dead. Darwin shouted in my head. I silently agreed with him as I opened the door. Immediately, I was surrounded. There were ferments surrounding me. One of them had power radiating off of him, but he still smelt rogue. Alpha of rogues Gavin filled in for me. I growled at him, and one of his men clawed at me. Dodging his attack, I grabbed his hand before swiftly breaking it. He roared in pain and dropped to the floor. I quickly snapped his neck, killing him. But 2 more men attacked me. The Alpha watched humorously as his men clawed at me. I felt blood dripping down my arms and sides as they scratched me. I extended my own claws and swung at one of their necks. Blood poured out as he dropped to the ground. The other man's claws dug into my skin. I turned around and clasped onto his neck. I squeezed until I heard a nice crack. Dropping the dead body, I turned to the Alpha. He applauded me as I growled at him. Where's my mate? I asked through gritted teeth. Quite a show you put on, he stated. I warned him to stop with the growl. He sighed and rolled his eyes. Your precious queen is still alive, he said in a bored tone. My eyes darkened as Gavin fought for control. Where's she? You may come out now, the Alpha stated. The bathroom door opened and Malcolm walked out with Eve in front of him. I stepped forward, but the Alpha pushed me back. You didn't think it would be this easy, right? He questioned. Tears streamed down Eve's face as she held her stomach that already had a little bump. What do you want? I asked the man. Give up the throne, he demanded. Asher, don't do it. Eve shouted. Malcolm held a knife to her throat and she instantly shut her mouth. I growled at the men. Malcolm shook his head and he scared me. In one swift movement, he had Eve's hands behind her back as he held the knife to her stomach. The baby. Please. Don't, I begged. Footsteps echoed from outside, but they stopped at the door. I glanced over my shoulder and saw Sean, Brian, Hope, and Jacobs. River Hope whispered. The Alpha smirked. Nice to see you again. Mate, he spit out the word. I guess I'm going to have to kill you again, he sighed. We all growled at him. He's the Alpha rogue that is Hope's mate. We're gonna have a lot of fun killing him. You're outnumbered, Jacobs pointed out. Just give up, River shook his head. Thomas, Jacobs. Trying to be good, he chuckled. Taunting Jacobs. You should join our side. I mean, we have a lot in common. We were both Alpha. At some point, we've both captured Genevieve. We both killed our mates, I didn't mean to, Jacob stated. Malcolm sighed loudly. Enough talking, he demanded while holding the knife closer to Eve's stomach. Luckily, he didn't draw blood. Everyone tensed behind me as both men stared at me. Your move. Alpha Chapter 48, Genevieve. This asshole better hope that my baby is perfectly healthy. Before Asher got here, Malcolm and this alpha rogue dude, who's apparently River, Hope's mate, injected me with something. I'm assuming that it's wolfsbane. I couldn't feel Ingrid. I couldn't shift. I couldn't contact Asher. I couldn't even use my powers. If something is wrong with my child, then I'll use the banana slicer on both of them. Bananas sound hella good right now. Damn. Pregnancy cravings. My baby chooses the worst times to be hungry. Currently, there is a silver knife pressed against my stomach while Malcolm and River have a stare down with Asher. Your move, Alpha River stated. We were playing a chess game against them. It was basically checkmate already. Even though it was no use, I silently begged Asher not to give up the throne. I know what will happen if he does. They will kill both of us, and then take over. Whatever he does, I know that someone is gonna die. Asher looked into my eyes, then at my stomach. I could tell that he's trying to figure out what to do. I'm not getting any younger. Here Malcolm complained. I growled and angrily stomped on his foot. However, just like earlier, his grip didn't falter. Fucking bitch, he muttered lowly, so only I heard. Asher still didn't decide what to do, so I looked at the others. Sean and Brian were looking towards me, but I'm certain that they're looking at Malcolm. Jays are locked on River, as they obviously glared daggers at each other. Hope was the only one looking at me. She looked scared. I wish that one of them would do something. Anything. Hope slightly moved behind Jacob's. No one else noticed, since they were focused on staring at other people. When she moved back, I saw that her plaid shirt was now unbuttoned, showing off her lacy bandeau. At first I was confused, until I heard growling. Hope's eyes were locked on River. Seducing the enemy. Pretty badass. She smiled innocently at her mate. Even with that stupid drug in my system, I could smell their raging hormones. Baby Hope cooed as she slowly inched towards her mate. I've missed you so much, she said while batting her eyes. I guess it was just check. We have one move that could save us in this game. River growled, not out of anger, but out of lust. I rolled my eyes at how easy that was. I was too busy watching Hope that I didn't even realize Malcolm's grip loosened. The knife wasn't even on my stomach anymore, but I couldn't attack yet. I still need River out of the way. Hope licked her lips, making both River and Malcolm growl. I pursed my lips to hold in my laugh. Malcolm is way too old for Hope. Can I be on your side? I'll do anything you want, she asked, while her bottom lip jutted out. Anything, she repeated, slowly before biting her lip. River groaned before pulling his mate towards himself. Mine, he growled before roughly smashing his lips on Hope's. I rolled my eyes, men. Hope opened her eyes and winked at me. But apparently, Malcolm thought the wink was for him, so he growled as his arousal was rolling off of him. I quickly turned and snapped his neck. At the same time, Hope snapped River's neck. I made eye contact with my guardian before smiles broke out of both our faces. Girl power. We shouted in unison. The guys snapped out of their daze as they glanced back and forth between the bodies and us. Rolling my eyes, I put my hand on my hip. You guys are so helpful, I stated sarcastically. I shrieked as Asher picked me up. He quickly pecked my lips before setting me back down and lifted my shirt to reveal my stomach. He pepper-kissed all over my little belly bump. I'm 3 weeks into my pregnancy, which only lasts for all 5 months since Asher is an alpha and I'm a royal. I love you so much, Asher stated after covering every inch of my stomach with kisses. Since you love me so much, and I'm carrying your child, you should get me some bananas, I said with a smile. He rolled his eyes before pecking my lips. I'll get the bananas, Sean stated. I'll check on the warriors, Brian said. I looked behind Darsha and noticed that everyone was still here until Brian and Sean left. Hope was sobbing into Jacob's chest. I guess the fact that she killed her mate just sunk in. I'll take her to her room, Jacobs informed me before picking up Hope. She was still crying as he carried her out. Asher rubbed circles on my back. She'll be okay, he assured me. I hope so. I woke up the next morning at 5 in crap. Morning sickness. I pried Asher's hands off of me and ran to the bathroom. Why did I eat nachos and spaghetti right before bed? After emptying my stomach, I brushed my teeth and splashed water on my face. I looked at my reflection while lifting up my shirt. My little baby is still growing and healthy. I wonder if it's a boy or a girl. I will love them either way. What am I going to name him or her? I swung open the bathroom door and shook Asher awake. He jolted up and pushed me behind him in a protective stance. Asher, I cooed. He hushed me as he scanned the room for any threat. Over, protective mate. He glanced at the clock before groaning. Go back to sleep, he grumbled while wrapping an arm around my baby belly. I frowned and turned around so I was facing him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He hummed in response. What are we gonna name the baby? He mumbled incoherent words, but I caught the last few words. I'm so tired, tears blurred my vision. Is he tired of me? Does he not want the baby? I thought he was excited about the pregnancy. He's probably mad at me. I made him get up like 100 times to get me food. I should have just kept my cravings to myself. Now, he doesn't even want our baby. I pursed my lips to hold in my sobs while I got out of the bed. I heard shuffling as I walked towards the door. The lights flickered on, but I kept walking. Asher, asked softly. I bit my lip as tears dropped from my face and onto my carpet. Asher quickly got out of the bed and wrapped his arms around me. Why are you crying? Sniffing. I looked into his eyes. Why don't you want our baby? I whispered before burying my face in my hands. I get if he's mad at me for making him get up a lot, but it's our baby. What are you talking about? He questioned. I want this baby. And I want all of our future babies and our future grand babies, he stated. I slowly moved my hands and gazed up at him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Asher nodded in confirmation. Come on, stop crying, he said softly. I wiped my face and took deep breaths. Fucking pregnancy hormones. What do you feel like having for breakfast? Chocolate chip pancakes. And bacon. And waffles. With a shitload of syrup. I exclaimed. My mate laughed at me before pulling me out the room and towards the kitchen. The smell of bacon floated into my nostrils. Bacon. I shouted before pushing open the doors to the kitchen. Asher and I froze at the entryway. Hope was cooking bacon wearing large plaid pants and a large black shirt. Jacobs was leaning against the kitchen island, and he was wearing light grey sweats without a shirt. But their clothes isn't what fazed us. It was their scents. Utimated. Chapter 49. Genevieve I looked back and forth between Jacobs and Hope, who looked like deer in headlights. Jacobs got up and walked behind Hope, wrapping his arms around her. Hope turned red as Jacobs kissed her neck where I'm guessing her mark is. My guardian angel werewolf farmated. Oh my gosh. I squealed while jumping up and down. Asher quickly swooped me and placed me on the kitchen island. I watched as he contacted someone through the mind link. What? I asked, confused. Drive. Nail came into the kitchen and practically ran up to me. "What's going on?" I questioned. Asher lifted up my shirt and drive. Nail started examining my stomach. His fingers were so cold as he pressed down on my skin. "Do you feel any pain?" the doctor asked. I furrowed my eyebrows together and shook my head. "Both drive." Nail and Asher sighed in relief. "Damn it." Asher scolded me quietly. Tears poured out of my eyes. It was like when I got scolded as a kid. I felt as if he was disappointed in me and I hated it. But the worst part is that I didn't even know what I did wrong. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Drive." Nail looked at my hurt and confused expression. "Jumping can harm the baby and cause premature labor," he explained. I was instantly filled with guilt. "I didn't know," I said quietly. I was supposed to read those pregnancy books, but they were extremely boring. There were like 3 chapters just about what not to eat. Asher sighed before wiping my tears away and pecking my lips. "Don't cry," he said before kissing me again. "Stupid hormones. Let's have drive." Nail check on the baby. Just in case, I quickly nodded in agreement. We followed drive. Nail to the hospital wing of the castle. He rolled a machine out of the cabinet. It looked like an extremely small T for a really big iPad. Either way, the thing was hooked up with wires and something that resembled a small microphone. I sat down on the bed in drive. Nail told me to lean back. "This might be a little cold, drive." Nail informed me as he pulled out a bottle of blue gooey stuff. He squirted the stuff on my stomach, and it was like putting ice cubes on me. "Holy shit. That's fucking freezing," I shouted. "Drive." Nail chuckled as he used the microphone thing. "Why, to move around the gel." On the screen, the ultrasound popped up. "What is that?" "I can't make out anything." "Well, that is an arm drive," Nail said as he pointed at the screen. "Here's the head. A leg. Another arm. And that's the head," he stated. My eyebrows furrowed together. "Did the baby move?" I questioned. "You pointed at the head twice, but it's 2 different places," I explained. "Drive." Nail hummed before moving the tool around again. "Holy crap. My baby has 2 heads," I exclaimed. "I didn't know jumping could do that. How does that even happen?" Drive. Nail laughed. "Your baby doesn't have 2 heads. You have 2 babies," he informed me. I looked at my stomach, then the doctor, then the screen, then my stomach, then my mate, then the doctor, then basically I was looking back and forth between everything. "We're having twins?" Asher asked. The doctor nodded. "It is too early to identify the genders of the babies, but you definitely have more than 1 baby in there," he stated while cleaning the gel off of my stomach. "More than 1 baby? I'll have to buy 2 of everything. To strollers, to car seats, to times the diapers, to times the baby outfits, to babies are going to be growing inside of me. How will they even fit in there?" I wondered out loud. Asher chuckled. "Babe, your stomach will stretch. It's already stretching," he said. I frowned and snapped my head up to look at my mate. "Are you calling me fat?" I accused. Asher looked panicked, whilst I looked down at my stomach. "Daddy just called Mommy fat," I told my tummy. "You're not fat," Asher said quickly. "The babies are making you bigger," I glared at him. "So you're calling our babies fat?" I leaned down and kissed my belly. Perks of being flexible. I went through a yoga phase once. Don't listen to Daddy. You guys aren't fat, you're perfect. And Mommy is gonna love you so much, Asher groaned. I didn't say that they were fat. They're just gonna be heavy, he argued. That's the same thing, I exclaimed. Stop insulting my babies, I huffed. Stupid mate. I'm not stupid, Asher grunted. Only stupid people call their mates fat. I didn't even call you fat, he sighed. My eyes narrowed at him. Stay out of my head. Asher pouted. I saw where he spoke in a child's voice. I will be you laughing. I kissed his pouty lips. Love you, too, you big baby, I giggled. 1 month later. Asher was right. These babies are fucking heavy. I'm halfway through my pregnancy, and my stomach bigger than a basketball. After that jumping accident last month, I refrained from even going on my tippy toes. I started reading those baby books honestly. They're very helpful. I've learned a lot. Like I can't give my babies honey after they're born. I'm supposed to find books about twins, but I'm too lazy. I don't feel like walking around with my huge belly. Babe, time to go see Drive. Nail. Asher informed me as he sauntered into the room. I guess staying in bed isn't an option. With the help of my mate, I changed my clothes and put on my shoes. I reached down, but couldn't grab the shoelaces. Taking a deep breath, I tried again. Damn stomach is in the way. I can't tie my shoe, I said with a frown. Weren't you supposed to learn how to tie your shoe when you were like 5? He asked from the bathroom. I huffed. I know how to tie my shoes. I just can't reach the laces. Asshole. I huffed. Asher walked out of the bathroom and tied my shoes for me. I slapped his arm when he was done. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What was that for? He asked while rubbing the spot I just hit. I didn't like your smart, asked remark I stated before walking to the hospital room that I always saw Drive. May lad. A few of my pack members passed by and greeted me. We finally decided how to keep the pack in the throne. We extended the castle. Now a pack lives with us. Except the ones who wanted separate houses. They still live on the royal territory, just not in the castle. After walking into the room, I attempted to sit on the bed. It was over half my height, so I had to lift myself. I'm so freaking heavy. I groaned and sat cross on the tile floor. The door opened, and in walked Drive. Nail with my mate in tow. What are you doing on the floor? Asher inquired. I frowned as tears escaped my eyes. I can't get on the bed, I said quietly. My tears rolled off my face and dripped onto the tiles. Obviously, I'm a bit emotional. The mood swings kick my ass, and I've been getting even more cravings. Instead of being nauseous, I'm hungry. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Asher helped me off the floor and onto the bed. He kissed my temple and stood next to me. Better. I nodded in response before laying down for the ultrasound drive. Nail squirted the blue gel on me. By now, I was used to the coldness of it. I've been getting ultrasounds every few days. Since the babies are growing so fast, Drive. Nail moved the transducer around my stomach, showing the image of my babies on the screen. You two are sure that you don't want to know the genders? Drive Nail questioned. I looked at Asher, who nodded in confirmation. We decided that we want it to be a surprise. We bought clothes for both genders, so we prepared to drive. Nail told us that the babies were healthy and wiped the gel off of my stomach. Asher helped me off of the bed and we walked to the living room where Matthew was playing with Elise, and Hope was cuddling with Jacobs. The tickle monster is gonna get you, Matthew stated. Elise giggled and stumbled away on her little legs. Matthew followed behind her. I'm gonna get you, my mate trapped his arms around me from behind. I love you, he whispered. Smiling, I kissed his cheek. I love you. I love you guys too. Matthew chirped as he ran up to us. Elise chased after him and tugged on his shirt. I love you too. Ellie, Matthew cooed. Elise laughed before running away with Matthew in tow. Oh my God, what if they're mates? Hope wondered out loud. Speaking of mates. How are my guardian and favorite guard? I questioned. Hope had told me about her and Jacob's. Apparently, she wouldn't stop crying about River. Jacob's comforted her, and I guess it just happened. Hope blushed and buried her face in Jacob's chest. I rolled my eyes. Don't you have like patrol or something? Jacob's. He shook his head. I'm on break, he stated. You do know that his name is Thomas, right? Hope asked. Yeah, I just called him Jacobs when we first met. I think it just stuck with everyone. Well, can I have some girl time with my guardian? It sounded more like a demand than a question, but oh well. Thomas kissed Hope's head before leaving with my mate. Wait, I called out. Bring me back some Oreos. Asher smiled at me while Thomas rolled his eyes. Damn, I'm gonna need to get used to his name. I probably won't though. Why did you want girl time? Hope inquired. I just felt like it, I stated, before I got a sudden craving. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I want hot dogs. Do you still want the Oreos? He shouted back. That's a weird combination, but I'm hella hungry. Yes, please. And orange Fanta. Why can't my babies just agree on one food? So, how's Thomas treating you? I asked Hope. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Good, she said simply. I raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to actually tell me the truth. With a sigh, she answered. I just feel bad that he's spending all this time with me instead of doing his job. Maybe he just loves being near you, I offered. Hope shook her head. It's like he needs to be near me. Whenever I wake up, he has me in a death grip like he's afraid I'll disappear while we're sleeping, she explained. I nodded in understanding. Like he doesn't want to lose you, I filled in. Just talk to him. Assure him that you're not going anywhere, she nodded. Asher came back with my tray of food. Thomas was trailing behind him with my Fanta and a Pepsi for Hope. We thanked them before they disappeared out of the room. I started munching on my hot dogs. Is that good? Hope asked, amused. Heavenly, I answered with a mouthful of food. Hope cringed in disgust, and I smiled innocently at her. I felt a light poking inside my stomach. I spit out my food and shouted. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He ran into the room, knocking over my tray of food. Cool meal. It didn't get the pleasure of being devoured by me. After looking around for any threats, Asher buried his face into my shoulder. What happened? He asked while breathing in my scent. I smiled and grabbed his hand, placing it on my belly. One of the babies kicked again, and Asher gasped. That's our baby, I beamed. My mate smiled at me and kissed my cheek. You want to go out to eat? Asher asked. I shook my head. I was gonna hang out with. I trailed off, realizing that Hope left. I thought we were gonna have gulk. Apparently, I'm gonna be hanging out with you, I stated. Asher chuckled and led me out the castle. We informed the warriors about where we were going before driving off. I played with Asher's hand as he drove to a diner. It wasn't busy at all, but it looked like a nice, homey restaurant. My mate parked the car and opened my door to help me out. There were a few couples and a small family in a booth. We sat down at a table, and the waitress gave us our menus. I started looking at the drinks. I'll just have water, please, I told the waitress, noting that I couldn't actually drink anything that was on the menu. And for you? So she asked Asher. There was silence. I looked over my menu and saw that Asher was staring at me with such love and adoration in his eyes. But snapped him out of his trance. Babe, what did you want to drink? But I didn't listen to Asher's answer. I was in my own little world as I heard the elderly man next to us talk to his wife. Remember when that was us? You were the center of my world. Still are from my peripheral vision. I saw the woman blush. And that blush is still beautiful, the man said, while gently caressing her face. Asher gently took my hand in his. We both looked at the elderly couple who were lost in each other's eyes. They were mates. They weren't werewolves, but anyone could tell that they were made for each other. My mate kissed my hand before smiling at me. That's gotta be us, chapter 50, Genevieve. 2 months later, I woke up with wetness between my legs. Quickly, I shook Asher awake. He groaned as he felt the damp sheets. You couldn't make it to the bathroom. He questioned tiredly. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I didn't pee. I snapped. He ignored me and peeled the blankets off of the bed before laying back down. God. My mate is an idiot. Dimwit. My water just broke, I shouted while slapping his head. Sean was very right. I'm an extremely violent pregnant woman. As for the whole dimwit insult, that's my attempt at not cursing. Asher jolted up, but froze in the bed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I yelled, trying to get his attention. Damn it. Jacobs, I screamed at the top of my lungs. The name Ray didn't stick. Immediately, the door was broken down and Jacobs stood in the doorway only in a pair of boxers. My water just broke. I rushed out as pain erupted in my abdomen. Shit. Contractions. I gritted my teeth together as Jacobs helped me out of bed. Wait. What about Asher? Halfway to the door, Jacobs looked at my frozen mate before grabbing a shoe and chucking it at him. He snapped out of his frozen state and went into mate mode. He carefully swooped me off my feet as he jogged to the medical rooms. I gripped the sheets as the ache in my stomach returned drive. Nail burst into the room with a pair of gloves on. Luna, I'm going on you. I quickly shook my head. May just get these babies out of me. I growled out. Asher gently rubbed circles on my back. Another contraction started, and I let out a loud scream. Dang it. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This is all your fault, I shouted at him, feeling Ingrid stir inside of me. Restrain her, the doctor demanded. Jacobs and Asher held me down as drive. Nail injected me with something. Panting for air, I tried to focus on drive. Nail's words. It's liquid wolfsbane, so you won't be able to shift. When did your water break? He questioned. Breath through the pain, I chanted in my head. 510 minutes ago, Jacobs answered for me. I see the head. Luna, when I say so. You need to push drive, Nail instructed. I was lost in the pain. I didn't even notice that my pants and underwear were gone. I nodded in response as Asher took my hand in his. 12, push. I attempted to push my first pup out of me, until I was breathless. Before I pushed again, I took deep breaths. My grip on Asher's hand tightened as I pushed. Suddenly, I wasn't the only one screaming. She broke my hand. Asher shouted, Shut up. I'm pushing people out of my vagina. He's complaining about his stupid hand. I took in more air before pushing until the room was filled with cries. I sighed in relief once the first baby was out of me drive. Nail handed my baby to Hope, who went to clean them up. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Whenever you're ready, drive. Nail stated. Pushing. I gripped the bed since Asher probably didn't want his other hand broken. Almost there. One more big push, he urged. Following his instructions, I pushed my baby out of me. Drive Nail handed my second baby to Jordan for her to clean. Conga, wait. I shouted as the pain came back. I think there's another one. I gritted my teeth together as Drive Nail told me to push. I groaned while trying to push the last baby out of me. Feeling the baby come out, I lay back down on the bed. I breathed deeply while Asher rubbed my hand. You did good, babe, he stated. That was a lot of work, I complained. Asher chuckled before Drive Nail, Hope, and Jordan came back with my babies who were wrapped in blankets. Drive Nail smiled at me. You have two beautiful girls and one boy, he informed me. Hope handed me one of my baby girls and Jordan handed me my baby boy. Drive Nail gave my other baby girl to Asher. What are you going to name them? Jordan asked. I looked at my mate who stared lovingly at our daughter. Audrey Bay, Asher answered. Knowing that he named our daughter after his mother. David Christopher, I said. My father's name and Asher's father's name. Since our parents didn't have the chance to meet their grandkids, Asher, I decided to honor them by naming our babies after them. What we weren't expecting was 3 babies. Gardenia, I whispered. Asher smiled at me and kissed my head. Belle. Gardenia Belle. Asher added a middle name. Belle is his sister's name. I've only met her a few times, but I know that I'll see her soon, so she can meet her nieces and nephew. Audrey was born first. David was born roughly 2 minutes later. And Gardenia was born about 3 minutes after. We didn't really expect Gardenia. Her older siblings were probably protecting her by hiding her behind their big heads. Drive Nail joked. I let out a small laugh, gazing at the babies. Congratulations, Alpha and Luna. I let out a big yawn. Thank you. Drive Nail, I said genuinely. He nodded before leaving the room. Can I see Gardenia? I asked. He nodded and moved closer. All of my babies looked similar, except Audrey was the only one with Asher's dark hair. Asher and I have the same eye color, so their eyes will probably be the same. We're parents, I whispered to Asher. He smiled and nodded as I yawned again. Giving birth was very tiring. Go to sleep, babe. I'll find someone to bring the cribs in here, he told me. Okay, I handed my babies to Hope and Jordan. We decided that Hope, Jacobs, Ryan, Jordan, Brittany, Sean, Peyton, and Brian would all be the godparents of our kids. I wonder where Brittany and Peyton are. Before I had the chance to ask anyone, I fell asleep. I was awoken by cries. My eyes fluttered open and I saw Asher holding Gardenia. He looked up and smiled sheepishly at me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, thoughts of thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I tried to get her to stop crying, but I think she's hungry, he stated. I sat up and held my arms out. Asher gently handed Gardenia to me, and I started breastfeeding her. Noticing Asher stare, I rolled my eyes. You're such a perv, I groaned. Well, it's not my fault that they grew, he stated. It is your fault. I laughed. Asher threw his head back as he laughed with me. I guess we were laughing too loud because cries filled the room again. Asher walked over to the cribs and picked up Audrey. Hi, baby, he cooed. She slightly quieted down. She might be hungry too, he informed me. I nodded as I felt Gardenia stop feeding. Switch. Asher handed me Audrey as I handed him Gardenia. I tried feeding Audrey while my mate held Gardenia. Hi, Gar, he said softly. He started rocking her back and forth. Audrey finally started drinking, and I looked up to see Gardenia falling asleep. Ash. She can't sleep. You got to burp her, I told him. He nodded and shifted Gar's position. I watched as he started gently patting her back. Surprisingly, it took less than a minute for her to burp. Asher coaxed her to sleep before slowly placing her inside of a crib. You're gonna be a great dad. Asher smiled at me and kissed my head. "You're gonna be a great mom," he mumbled into my hair. Once again, loud cries came from the cribs. Asher picked up David and walked back over to me. "Look, it's my mini," I laughed as Audrey finished up. "Switch." Again Asher chuckled as he started burping Audrey, and I fed David. "Déjà vu," I stated. "We're so lucky that this room is soundproof. Everyone would be awake by now," he said. I nodded in agreement. "What time is it anyway?" Asher stopped patting Audrey's back and pulled out his phone. He winced as his bright screen blinded him. "Almost 10. So they are probably waking up right now anyway," he answered. "I still haven't seen Peyton, Brian, Sean, or Brittany. They came in while you were sleeping," Asher told me. I narrowed my eyes at him. "Stop eavesdropping on my thoughts," I grunted just as Audrey burped. "Stop thinking so loud," he retorted. I rolled my eyes at him. Asher put Audrey back into her crib before walking back over to me. "I love you, Genevieve Burke," he said softly. I looked up at my mate, who had love shining in his eyes. "I love you, Alpha Asher Reed Epilogue." Genevieve, I turned and rolled again. For some reason, I'm so uncomfortable. I feel like something's wrong. Asher told me that I was just being paranoid since it's the first day our babies are sleeping in a different room. Well, it's not completely a different room. Our room is connected to theirs, and we didn't even close the door all the way. But I don't know why I feel like this. I just can't sleep. Sighing, I rolled over again. I accidentally elbowed Asher, causing him to wake up. He groaned and wrapped an arm around me, pulling me closer to him. "Go to sleep." "Everything's fine," he assured me. "I know something is wrong. Call it mother's instinct or something. I'm just gonna check on them real quick," I decided. Sighing, Asher agreed and lifted his arm, letting me slide out of bed. Our babies are a few days old, and yesterday, Asher and I bought things for them. We got each of them a crib. We bought wooden letters and hung their initials above their heads. We got them blankets, and they all get their own little stuffed animals. I quickly walked into the baby's room and went up to David's blue crib. He slept peacefully, wrapped in his blue blanket. His stuffed tiger was snuggled next to him. Gardenia's crib was next. Unlike her brother, she moved around a lot. Somehow, her pink blanket was hanging on the board of her crib, but she was cuddling with her little elephant. Softly chuckling to myself, I picked up the blanket and tucked her in. I got to Audrey's crib. Surprisingly, she was awake. She was playing with her stuffed bunny. "Hi, baby," I cooed while picking Audrey up. She made squeaky noises, before she just disappeared. My heart beat frantically in my chest. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I shouted in a panic. I looked around for any sign of her, but I didn't see her. Asher burst into the room, and he was staring at something behind me. I spun around and saw a silhouette of a man. "Don't worry. I'll take good care of her," he stated while caressing Audrey's face. Simultaneously, Asher and I growled. The man chuckled before disappearing. Tears streamed down my face as I fell to the ground. I heard footsteps and Asher shouting out orders, but I didn't care. Audrey was gone. My baby was gone. My mate appeared in front of me, and he gently wiped my tears away. "We'll find her. We're gonna find her," he declared. I slowly nodded as he took me into his embrace. I sobbed on his shoulder and he murmured sweet nothings into my ear. I should have done as, did I choke out between hiccups. I should have used my powers. Why didn't I use my powers? I mentally screamed at myself. Asher pulled away from me and grabbed my face. "This is not your fault. If we did something, he could have had Audrey," he said sternly. I slowly nodded, but was still angry at myself. Come on. We have to have a meeting, he stated. Okay, I whispered softly. Asher took another step back, and something crumpled under his foot. He lifted up his foot and I grabbed a piece of paper off the floor. Hello, Queen Genevieve. You and your mate killed many of my friends and my master. If you're reading this, then we've gone through Plan B. Your baby Audrey Bay. She will be strong, just like we planned. Don't worry, I will return her, eventually. Until then, you should focus on David Christopher and Gardenia Bell. Trying to find us will just be a waste of time. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Anthony. I shakily handed the note to Asher as I heard David crying. I quickly wiped away my tears and picked up my baby. I placed a soft kiss on his head as I rocked him back to sleep. Asher growled before storming at the room. I heard the door slam shut, and David stirred a little. After putting David back to sleep, I laid him down in his crib. I walked over to Audrey's crib and grabbed her stuffed bunny. I sat down, clutching the bunny to my chest. It's the only thing I have left of her. Tears streamed down my face and made little wet spots on the carpet. I know that Anthony didn't do this alone. Obviously, he's getting help from a witch. But why would they take Audrey? Why not David or Gardenia? There has to be a reason he picked Audrey. There had to be some sign. How did he even know all of their names? He's been watching us, I whispered to myself. Why didn't I notice? I could have prevented this. I could have stopped him from taking her. I knew Anthony didn't die during the attack. I knew that he was working with Malcolm. But I didn't do anything. I'm so sorry. Baby, I sobbed while holding the small bunny against myself. Half an hour later, I was still sobbing when Asher came into the room. He gently picked me off the ground and laid me down in the bed. Once again, he wrapped his arms around me as I cried. She gone? Asher kissed my head and pulled me closer to him. We'll find her. Even if it's the last thing I do. Don't let the story end. Subscribe to continue our Wolfpack legend.